Hit it.
The Blues Brothers, starring Dan Aykroyd and Jim Belushi, are coming to San Antonio on Friday, August 5th for one night only.
What do you want for nothing? Arrababisquita.
This historic concert event celebrates their 40th anniversary tour. All tickets are on sale now at pmxevents.com.
Hey! Come on now!
Don't miss your chance to see this dynamic show, The Blues Brothers, presented by PMX Events.
Pickle, our friends over there at the Republic of Football. I mean, I call them our friends.
Are they really, though?
Our friends over there at the Republic of Football have expanded their network. We've got a ton of great podcasts. Do we have 10 now?
Yes.
10 plus Republic of Football?
Yeah, they're trying to get to 13. We got 10, though.
We've got 10 school-specific podcasts over there on the Republic of Football podcast network, and one of them is a brand new podcast covering the Texas A&M Aggies. And here to talk a little bit of Aggie football with us is the co-host of Aggie War Pod, the A&M podcast on the Republic of Football podcast network. Please be joined by Jay Arnold. Jay, what's up, man?
Hey, y'all. How's it going? Happy to be here. Tepper, Ashley, thank y'all for having me.
Thanks for hopping on. You're a big get for our little show, and we just appreciate you taking some time out of your busy schedule. You are you're a former Texas A&M defensive lineman. You've got the bona fides. You are a true Aggie there, and so I will ask you as a true Aggie, and I would say representative of all Aggies. Can you give us right now a brief State of the Aggies address as far as the football program is concerned?
I can definitely try. Obviously, 2022 did not go to plan for the Aggies. I'm sure most Texas A&M fans who are listening know that. 5-7 year was definitely not part of the plan. And going into the offseason, there were a lot of questions being asked about the offense and the issues that they had, as well as the rushing defense, which was near the worst in the country. So they were hoping to get answers in the spring. 2023 brought in a new offensive coordinator in Bobby Petrino, maybe a familiar name to some folks around college football. Some offensive changes, looking to build off momentum. They did get a big win at the end of the year last year against LSU and trying to capitalize on that. But I'm not of the mind that you can take too much out of a spring practice session just because of injuries and guys getting healthy and whatnot. But I think there are some positives to take away from the spring game.
Are you, you mentioned kind of the talk has centered around the offense, which was not up to snuff last year, plain and simple. They bring in Bobby Petrino. Jimbo Fisher says that he's going to give up play calling duties. Are you satisfied right now with the changes? Haynes King, transfers, things like that. Are you satisfied right now with the changes that have been made? Obviously the toe has not met leather yet, and we'll know, whenever the fall rolls around. But are you confident that enough has changed that the offense will improve this year?
Well, the offense can't be much worse, so I am confident they'll improve. I just don't know how much. You look at Connor Wegman, who I think kind of cemented his place as a starter at the back half of the year. Especially with the performance against LSU. I mean, he was a young guy coming in. Haynes King started the year as the starter. Then you had Max Johnson. There was just no continuity with the offense whatsoever. And now I feel like there's at least a little bit of consistency. You know who your best weapon at wide receiver is in Evan Stewart. You know who the starting quarterback is going to be in Connor Wegman. And now you have an offensive coordinator and Bobby Petrino, who's going to change things up a little bit, but at the end of the day, a lot of the programs around the country in the college football level are running similar concepts. So really, it's just kind of the window dressing around it. And what that basically means is, A&M has another year under their belt with experienced guys and guys that they have faith in. So I think we'll see a big step forward on the offense. But again, it's hard to tell until you see them out there on the field in the fall.
Talking with Jay Arnold, the host of Aggie War Pod on the Republic of Football Podcast Network here on Texas Football Today. Get involved in the conversation at #TFToday. I do want to talk a little bit about the defense. Last year you mentioned the rushing defense left a lot to be desired. Overall the numbers are not terrible for A&M. You know, they were kind of, I would say, middle of the pack defensively as far as the aggregate numbers are concerned. Did we underrate the departure of Mike Elko to go become the new head coach at Duke? Did we gloss over that too much? Was that a bigger impact deal than maybe we thought heading into 2022?
I think it definitely was. And you look at the instant impact that Mike Elko had at Duke and what that program did this year, which was a huge step forward. And I think maybe we did underrate Mike Elko leaving. But there's also, I mean, you look at the defensive line for Texas A&M, and McKinley Jackson was really the only super experienced guy up front. A lot was made about all the talent coming in along the defensive front, but those guys were all super young, and it's a big adjustment to take the leap from high school football to college football. Additionally, a new defensive coordinator, some differences in philosophy, and DJ Durkin. I mean, there were some definite changes that could have had a negative impact on the defense. I will say, I mean, against the pass, it seems like A&M did pretty well last year, and it's going to build on that strength. But like I said, I mean, the rushing attack, defending against the rush has to be improved. So we'll see with those new defensive linemen. They have another year under their belt if they're able to kind of put that talent that was talked about out on display on the field.
Okay, I'm going to put you on the spot a little bit, and when you take a look at this 2023, Aggies team, what is one thing that has you really excited about this team, and one thing that has you worried?
So I'll start with the bad news, and that's going to be the linebacker position. That's the one thing that has me really worried. It was kind of a part of the issue last year as far as defending the run, but there's not a lot of depth at the position. You have Christopher Russell and Edrin Cooper at the linebacker positions. But then behind him at depth, you have one guy who's been in the program, and Marshall Harris Jr., Torian York and Damian Samford, who are both newcomers, are then the depth beyond them. So the linebacker position has to be really a worry if you're a Texas A&M fan. As far as one thing that you're feeling very confident about, it's a little bit of a catch-22 at the quarterback position, but I feel like A&M having their guy makes a huge difference offensively. Now, obviously, we're going to see if the offensive line can hold up there into the bargain, but I think that knowing you have a guy in Connor Wegman who is the future of the program, you have to feel a little bit of confidence in that, and then also with his relationship with Evan Stewart, which I think we saw on display during the spring game.
One of the things that I always enjoy about following A&M is that they'll have stars, but then they'll also have some guy that that has flown under the radar. It's hard to fly under the radar at A&M because they're so high profile, but they fly under the radar and then suddenly they become like the guy that everybody's talking about, like a fan favorite. Do you have a guy that you have your eye on heading into 2023 that you're like, yeah, not Connor Wigman, not Evan Stewart. Those guys are obviously outstanding. I mean, is there some guy who you think not enough people are talking about that you're like, that people are going to say, man, this guy actually kind of rules?
I think Noah Thomas at the receiver position is a guy that can be that kind of breakout guy that nobody's really expecting. Part of that is because Evan Stewart's going to attract a lot of the attention, but Noah Thomas, I mean, that big-bodied receiver, it's not as common in today's game, but he's a guy that can really create some matchup problems. And I think that opposite of Evan Stewart, he's going to be somebody to watch, especially in that receiver group. And then, I mean, I could bring up just the whole tight end position group in general as part of that, because I think that position group is just incredible and maybe isn't talked about enough.
And finally, it's Jay Arnold, host of Aggie War Pod here on Republican Football Podcast Network. I do want to ask you about your highest achievement. You've accomplished a lot. Of course, you're a former A&M defensive lineman. You now get to host a podcast with Mike Craven, which I don't get to do that. That feels like a big deal. But you were, of course, the 100,000 or the 1 millionth fan at the Duke's Mayo Bowl, the Duke's Mayo Bowl between NC State and Maryland, and you were captured on television, just taking a nice little spoonful of Duke's Mayo. just how was it? I'm just interested in like what that whole experience was like of just shoveling some mayonnaise into your face on national television.
Well, look, Tab, I think one thing we forget about is that football is supposed to be fun. And the folks at the Duke's Mayo Bowl, I mean, putting that whole experience together, it's just such a fun, wacky, wild experience. And me playing the one small part in that and, taking the spoon into the full jar of mayo and taking a bite of that. Well, unfortunately, several bites, but it was just it was a really fun experience.
And I do, people are focusing a lot on the shirt, which is you're just here for the mayo, and they're focusing on the bite. I want to focus on, and I don't know if enough people have given you credit. You're wearing a Kreutz Market hat in that game. You are above all else a committed to Texas barbecue, and that's one of the things that I really admire about you.
Yeah, it's one of my favorite hats. It's funny because I actually got the hat from another buddy who's actually got a barbecue joint in Montgomery, Cooper Abercrombie at Bar A Barbecue. He's the one that gave me this hat, and it's rapidly become one of my favorite hats to wear. Because it's the old school Texas barbecue, right? Like it's kind of where the Texas style barbecue originated there in Lockhart. It's just kind of fun to put on for the flagship as far as going to North Carolina, which was a state with its own barbecue background, and wearing a Texas barbecue hat.
Now, you're flying the flag, and we appreciate that. Certainly, few people are going to appreciate it as much as we do. He's Jay Arnold. He's the co-host of Aggie War Pod on the Republic of Football Podcast Network. Follow him on Twitter at Coach Jay Arnold. Jay, appreciate your time, my friend, and I'm sure you – so you went to NA Barbecue in Montgomery today. What's the next barbecue stop for you?
Man, it's I stay busy. There's a lot of new Texas barbecue spots opening up. It seems like every day. There's a spot in the spring area of Houston that I want to get to called Rosemeyer, and hopefully I get up there soon.
Jay, appreciate your time, my friend, and safe travels.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me.